Underneath the cerulean Missouri sky, Jennifer and Beau Rathel's union seemed as unyielding as the limestone columns of their alma mater, the University of Missouri-Columbia. Their chemistry extended beyond the lab, where beakers clinked and Bunsen burners hissed, into a life woven with dreams and aspirations. St. Louis welcomed them with open arms, offering the promise of careers ripe with opportunity and a future filled with the laughter of children they both longed for. But as autumn leaves whispered secrets through the streets of North Wind's Drive, darkness crept into their idyllic world, unraveling the tapestry of their dreams thread by painstaking thread. As the autumn sun dipped below the horizon, casting an amber glow across the sprawling suburbs of St. Louis, the Rathels' home on North Wind's Drive stood as a beacon of hope and promise. It was a picturesque two-story house with a manicured lawn that Beau meticulously tended every weekend, and a porch swing where Jennifer often sat, sipping coffee and dreaming of a future filled with children's laughter. The house, nestled amid towering oaks that whispered secrets with every breeze, represented more than a physical structure. It was the embodiment of Jennifer and Beau's shared dreams and aspirations. They had poured their hearts into making a home, each room echoing with moments of joy and plans for a family that would one day fill its halls. The kitchen, with its warm cherry wood cabinets and granite countertops, was where they spent countless evenings cooking together, blending flavors and laughter in equal measure. Their lives were intertwined in a way that seemed almost poetic, born from a shared love for chemistry. Their relationship was an intricate dance of precision and passion. Jennifer was captivated by Beau's quiet intellect, a man whose steady gaze held the promise of stability and understanding. In him, she found a partner who mirrored her own seriousness about the future, each of them envisioning a life built on a foundation of mutual respect and shared goals. Evenings were often spent in the cozy glow of their living room, surrounded by bookshelves laden with texts on engineering and novels that transported them to different worlds. They played board games, losing themselves in strategic battles that only deepened their appreciation for one another's minds. Their laughter would ripple through the house, a symphony of love and companionship that seemed unbreakable. Friends and family admired their bond, often remarking on how Jennifer and Beau seemed to be the perfect match. Their relationship unfolded with a seamless elegance, a testament to the strength of their connection. Their wedding in the fall of 2015 was a celebration not only of their love, but also of a future that felt resplendent with promise. On that day, surrounded by loved ones, they shared vows that spoke of commitment and faith in their journey together. Yet, beneath the serene surface of their lives, a storm was brewing. In 2018, as the leaves turned crimson and gold, Jennifer and Beau decided it was time to expand their family. This decision, which should have been filled with joy and anticipation, soon became fraught with unexpected challenges. Jennifer was diagnosed with endometriosis, a condition that cast a shadow over their dreams of parenthood. This news hit Jennifer with the force of a gale, shattering her vision of an effortless transition into motherhood. The couple, ever the problem solvers, approached this hurdle with the same precision they applied to their work. Consultations with specialists and meticulously planned treatments filled their days, transforming their quest for a family into a regimented process. Despite the clinical nature of their efforts, Jennifer held on to hope, envisioning a day when a child's laughter would echo through their home. As the months passed, the strain of their efforts began to etch lines of worry into their once gleaming relationship. What was once a dance of love and precision started to falter under the weight of stress and unmet expectations. The silence that sometimes settled between them was deafening, a chasm filled with unspoken fears and mounting frustration. Jennifer's unwavering communication with her family and friends, a lifeline of support and normalcy, began to fray around the edges. The consistent presence that made her absence immediately noticeable now seemed like a fragile tether to the life she had envisioned. Her colleagues at DuPont, once accustomed to her bright disposition, noticed a change as well, though they could not pinpoint its source. The Rethels' journey was taking an unexpected turn, and the once clear path to their future was becoming obscured by the shadows of uncertainty. Underneath the facade of their perfect life, unseen forces were beginning to pull at the threads of their shared dreams, unraveling the tapestry they had so carefully woven. The air around Northwind's Drive grew heavy with the unspoken, as the couple stood on the precipice of a fate neither had foreseen. The leaves of late October were a mosaic of gold and crimson, their beauty a stark contrast to the turmoil simmering beneath the surface of Jennifer and Beau Rethel's marriage. Each morning, the soft light filtered through the bare branches, casting elongated shadows into their Northwind's Drive abode. The air was crisp with the scent of decaying foliage, a fitting backdrop for the decay of a relationship once thought to be unbreakable. Inside, the house remained eerily quiet. The silence was punctuated only by the mundane sounds of everyday life. The drip of a faucet, the creak of floorboards, the shuffle of papers on the kitchen table. Yet, no noise could mask the tension brewing between them. Jennifer, ever hopeful, moved through the motions of her day with a veneer of cheerfulness. She spent her mornings preparing meticulously for her work at DuPont, her thoughts a whirl of optimism about the new life growing inside her. Her pregnancy was a beacon of hope, a chance to mend the fractures that had formed in their marriage. Beau, on the other hand, was haunted by the duality of his existence. To outsiders, he appeared the devoted husband, his arm often draped around Jennifer's shoulders in a display of affection. But within, he was a man plagued by an internal tempest, his mind often wandering to the messages exchanged with his mistress. Each ding of his phone was a pull from his alternate world, a world where he was free from the obligations that bound him to Jennifer. As October waned, the sun dipped earlier each evening, cloaking Northwind's Drive in premature darkness. On one such evening, the couple sat together on their worn sofa, the television casting a faint glow across their faces. The familiar theme song of their favorite show played, but neither seemed to register its presence. The space between them was less than a foot, yet it might as well have been a chasm. Jennifer's heart fluttered with the anticipation of motherhood, and she placed a tentative hand over her stomach, imagining the life she was nurturing within. Her gaze shifted to Beau, searching his face for the joy she wished to see reflected there. But his eyes remained fixed on the screen, his expression unreadable, his thoughts a million miles away. She longed to reach out, to bridge the gap that had grown between them, but the words caught in her throat, heavy with unspoken fears. The nights grew colder, and with each passing day, Beau's resolve unraveled further. His clandestine conversations with his mistress were his only solace, a siren call of escape to a world where he could breathe without the weight of deceit. Their exchanges were filled with promises whispered in the clandestine hours, their plans painted in the vibrant hues of a life unburdened by his past commitments. Deep down, Jennifer sensed the shift, a subtle alteration in the energy around her. Her intuition whispered truths her heart refused to acknowledge. Shadows danced at the corners of her dreams, a foreboding presence she could not quite grasp. Yet, each morning she rose with renewed determination, believing in the strength of their shared history, convinced that love would conquer all. The air in the house grew stagnant, thick with secrets and unuttered confessions. The walls, once alive with laughter and love, seemed to close in, witnessing everything, yet powerless to intervene. As Halloween approached, the shadows lengthened, stretching their dark fingers across the yard, a silent testament to the approaching storm. In those final days of October, the Rethels' world teetered on the edge of an abyss. Unbeknownst to Jennifer, the delicate threads of her life were intertwining with a fate she could never have anticipated. The decision Beau made, or failed to make, would soon unravel the tangled web of their lives, leaving in its wake a story of betrayal, heartbreak, and the dark descent into tragedy. Been seeing someone else. The room fell silent, the air between them heavy with the weight of his confession. Jennifer stood motionless, her mind struggling to process the words that seemed to echo in the stillness. Her heart, which once beat strongly with love and trust, now pounded with confusion and betrayal. Outside, the wind howled through the barren trees, their skeletal branches clawing at the windows as if to warn her of the impending storm. The dim light in the kitchen cast long shadows across the floor, forming a grotesque dance of darkness that mirrored the turmoil inside Jennifer's heart. In that moment, Jennifer's world shattered. The vibrant colors of her dreams bled into the monochrome of reality, each stroke of her husband's deceit painting a picture she couldn't bear to see. She searched Beau's face for a trace of the man she loved, but all she found was a stranger staring back at her, his eyes cold and distant. The clinking of silverware against plates was the only sound that broke the silence. The mundane act of dining turned surreal, each bite of food tasting like ash in the wake of the revelation. Jennifer's hands trembled slightly as she set down her fork, her appetite swallowed by a sea of emotions that churned violently within her. As Beau continued to speak, each word felt like a dagger, slicing through the tattered remains of their shared history. He spoke of the affair with a detachment that was chilling, as if recounting a banal event, rather than the betrayal that would unravel the fabric of their lives. His voice was devoid of the warmth and affection that once defined their conversations, replaced instead by an unsettling calmness that set Jennifer's nerves on edge. The walls of the kitchen seemed to close in on her, suffocating her in their embrace as she grappled with the enormity of Beau's confession. Her mind raced, oscillating between anger and despair, the threads of her thoughts tangled like a web she could not escape. She wanted to scream, to unleash the torrent of emotions that threatened to consume her, but the words caught in her throat, strangled by disbelief. As the revelations continued, Jennifer's tears fell silently, tracing a path down her cheeks and leaving behind the salt of heartbreak. She reached out, her fingers brushing against the table's edge, seeking stability in a world that was spinning out of control. Her vision blurred, not just from the tears, but from the realization that the life she had envisioned was slipping away, piece by piece. Beau's final admission hung in the air, a specter of the life they once shared. It was a story of love turned sour, of promises broken under the weight of selfish desires. Jennifer felt the sting of betrayal cut deep, the scars of which would remain long after the echoes of Beau's confession had faded. In the lingering silence, the clock ticked steadily, marking the passage of time that felt both eternal and fleeting. What was meant to be an ordinary evening transformed into a defining moment, a crossroads where paths diverged in the stark light of truth. Jennifer stood at the precipice, her future uncertain, her heart heavy with the knowledge that nothing would ever be the same. Outside, the storm gathered strength, the wind wailing its mournful song as the first drops of rain began to fall. They tapped against the windows with a rhythmic persistence, a haunting reminder of a night that would forever change the course of Jennifer's life. The storm was here, and in its wake, nothing would remain untouched. As the winds of November howled fiercely outside, echoing the turbulent storm brewing within the small, cozy kitchen, Jennifer's world shattered with the full force of Beau's revelation. Her heart, which once beat in synchrony with his, now raced wildly, fueled by a cocktail of betrayal and fury. The air was thick with tension. Each breath drawn was heavy with unspoken accusations and the stinging scent of recent betrayal. The dim light cast long, sinister shadows across the room, flickering slightly, as if even the bulbs above were unsure of how to illuminate such an ugly truth. Jennifer's voice, once tender and filled with love, now sliced through the room with venomous fury. Her demand for the identity of the other woman was sharp, relentless, each word a dagger aimed at Beau, who sat across the table, a picture of remorse and defiance. He refused her the truth she so desperately sought, his silence a cold, impenetrable fortress. Her desperation morphed into a confession of her own, a revelation equally shocking, equally damning. It doesn't matter. At least he can get me pregnant, she spat, her voice trembling with an unsteady mix of anger and profound hurt. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The storm outside raged on, its wails a mere whisper compared to the tempest within the four walls of their once happy home. Beau's mind clouded with a red haze, a suffocating fog of rage and betrayal. The mallet, innocuously resting by the wall, caught his eye, a grim tool of fate that awaited his grasp. What followed was a blur of violent motion and irreversible decision, a moment where reason gave way to instinct, and love twisted into a grotesque shadow of itself. The mallet's impact was sickening, a dull thud that reverberated through the room, drowning out the storm's lament outside. Jennifer's world blurred, pain exploding in her vision as she staggered from her chair, her instincts screaming for survival. She stumbled towards the garage, her movements unsteady, driven by a primal need to escape. Behind her, Beau followed, his heart pounding in his chest, each beat a reminder of the irreversible path he had chosen. Her fall down the basement stairs was a heart-wrenching inevitability, each step a cruel reminder of a life that was slipping away with each breath. She lay there, silent and still, the finality of her existence marked by the eerie stillness that followed. Beau stood over her, the mallet slipping from his grasp, clattering to the floor, a chilling punctuation to the horror he had wrought. Horror and disbelief mingled within him, a toxic brew of regret that threatened to overwhelm. Yet he pushed it aside, buried it under layers of calculated denial. His actions in the following hours were methodical, a chilling testament to his intent to conceal rather than confess. The basement bore witness to his crime, the blood-soaked carpet and stained concrete a silent testament to the violence that had unfolded. In the dead of night, as the world slept, Beau wrapped Jennifer's lifeless body in a tarp, her presence reduced to a haunting burden he carried to his truck under the cloak of darkness. The drive to Troy, Missouri was a journey into the depths of human depravity, where love once reigned, now overshadowed by desperation and deceit. The wooded area, remote and forgotten, became Jennifer's final resting place, her body concealed beneath shrubs and branches, a macabre nod to nature's indifference to man's sins. As dawn broke, Beau slipped back into the facade of the grieving husband, his performance a mask worn with chilling ease. His call to 911 was laced with false concern, his voice steady as he reported Jennifer missing, a cruel irony given the truth he harbored. The community rallied, their search for Jennifer a testament to the life she had touched, unaware that their efforts were in vain, orchestrated by the very man who had taken her from them. The storm had passed, leaving behind a trail of devastation that would linger long after the winds had died down. Jennifer's absence was a void, her presence a memory etched in the hearts of those who knew her, a silent reminder of love's potential for destruction when twisted by betrayal. The morning of November 11th, the air was brittle with icy resolve. The first light crept cautiously over the horizon, casting a pale glow on the snow-laden streets. Inside the Rethel residence, a sinister truth lay beneath the veneer of the mundane, a truth that would soon unravel with the force of a winter storm. Beau Rethel's voice trembled ever so slightly as he addressed the public on the local news. As many of you may have heard already, last night my wife Jennifer went missing. His plea for assistance sounded genuine, but there was a hollowness, an echo of something other than grief, perhaps guilt or fear of the inevitable reckoning. The community, stirred by the tragedy, moved in unison like a flock of birds. Friends, neighbors, and strangers alike scoured the area for any sign of Jennifer, their breath visible in the crisp morning air, their hearts heavy with hope. Little did they know, a different kind of search was underway behind the scenes. Investigators, seasoned by years of facing humanity's darkest inclinations, sensed that Beau's narrative was as unstable as the shifting snowdrifts. The first tremor of truth emerged from surveillance footage, revealing Beau's visit to a local hardware store. As snow swirled with increasing ferocity, he purchased bleach, carpet cleaner, and gloves, supplies that painted a chilling portrait of premeditation. By November 13th, the storm of suspicion had gathered strength. Armed with a search warrant, detectives entered the Rethel home, their footsteps muffled by the soft carpet that had absorbed much more than everyday wear. The pungent odor of bleach hung in the air like a malevolent spirit, each inhalation a reminder of the lengths someone had gone to erase their sins. The carpet squelched underfoot, soaked with the acrid chemical, as if the floor itself wept for Jennifer. Down in the basement, the scene was one of chaotic, desperate concealment. Large patches of red stained the base of the stairs, and the walls bore silent witness with their scars. The drywall marred and broken, strands of hair clinging to the damage like spectral echoes. Yet, despite the meticulous attempts to wash away brutality, the evidence was resolute in its endurance. The DNA results were a grim testament to a family's worst fears. The blood belonged to Jennifer, confirming what each piece of evidence had whispered into the investigators' ears. Beau Rethel had orchestrated a crime so heinous it defied comprehension. His arrest on November 13th was a moment steeped in solemnity, the clang of handcuffs echoing the community's collective gasp. The trial of Beau Rethel was a theater of justice, where each piece of evidence was laid bare under the unforgiving glare of truth. His secret life unfolded like a sordid novel, revealing his clandestine communications with a mistress. Messages that fluttered between the mundane and the illicit, even on the day of Jennifer's murder, were exposed, casting shadows on his every defense. As the jury delivered its verdict on April 28, 2022, the weight of justice finally settled. Guilty of first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and the abandonment of a corpse. The courtroom was silent, save for the quiet sobs of Jennifer's family, their grief a palpable force. On July 8, 2022, the sentence was handed down. Life in prison without parole, a fitting end for a man whose heart had turned as cold as the winter night he chose to betray his vows. Jennifer's mother, Robin von Hausen, spoke through tears that blurred her sight but not her conviction. Her voice, though quavering, carried the strength of 1,000 mothers. Jennifer was a bright light in our lives, she lamented. Amidst the echoes of her words, Beau's apology hung, insubstantial and hollow, unable to bridge the chasm of loss he had carved. The courtroom emptied, leaving behind echoes of a love corrupted, a life stolen, and justice, though served, still unable to mend the hearts left in its wake. The gavel's echo mingled with the fading sense of polished wood and regret, casting a solemn pall over the courtroom. Justice, like a relentless tide, had swept away Beau's web of lies, revealing the unyielding truth beneath. In that moment, it became clear justice might be delayed, but it is never denied.